This is That One Audition with Alyshia Ochse.
Hi.
Hi.
We were just saying how long it's been, but we need to start from the very beginning.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I know I met you guys, you and Tony Yasenda, for those listening, after you did, I think, the video of Brett Favre with Sean Kerrigan.
Yes.
Is that right? Is that the right feel?
Yeah, I should explain what that was. When Tony Ascenda, my writing partner, and I first went to college together, that's where we met. And we moved to LA in 2010, around there. Didn't have really any connections or money or career prospects. And we had this idea to do Tony had an idea to do a Nike parody commercial based off of a LeBron James commercial that was big at the time, but using Brett Favre, the at the time Minnesota Vikings quarterback, who was in the midst of many controversies. I was originally going to play that character, but at 22, 23, or whatever I was, I didn't look like him at all, and it wasn't just an age thing. I don't look like an athlete and still don't. And so we met Sean Kerrigan I met him through stand-up comedy. He is a fantastic actor, fantastic comedian, and then also looked the part that we shot this video with him. And
loves
then
Brett Favre.
and he knew everything. And Sean was an athlete, he played football at some point, I think, and loved the NFL. And it was the perfect casting. And then he just became a great friend and collaborator, and still is.
And that's when do you feel like once because that went viral before viral was like even a thing where you're like, oh shit, that just caught wind like nothing else. Is that when you guys, because I know you guys all lived together, not with Sean, but it was you and Tony, it was a bunch of other dudes.
It was 5 guys total. I was sharing a bedroom. It was
So then you guys start kind of writing sketches. That's when I came in, I feel like, is participating in some of these sketches.
You were, yeah, yep. You were in some of the sketches. We shot the pilot web series together. We shot a thing called The Dark Knight Birthday, where you were playing a mom hiring Batman for a birthday party, and the Batman was way too intense.
I thought about that. This is how far, this is back to 2011, 12, 13. We're 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so was the plan though always for you, Dan? Was it to be a comedian, actor, or were you, and writing was like, writing will be my vehicle to be able to do those, or was it always a hyphenate?
It was a combo. Acting was always my preference, and then I just found, like I'm sure thousands of us feel, that you get to LA, you feel like there's just an endless sea of people who can do what you do and look like you, and you just feel like, how am I going to make my way in this? And so writing was partly out of necessity for me, because I wasn't getting the roles that I wanted. I wasn't getting the auditions or the attention or any sense of progress that I came to the city to do. And so writing was a way to get myself in front of the camera in a way that I don't think I would have if I never tried that.
So did you guys just start learning writing from writing these sketches, or did you have somebody? Because it feels like to me, you guys did a handful of really great sketches. They went viral, and then all of a sudden, you guys are selling shows left and right. That's what it feels like, right? As somebody recalling this.
Yeah.
Memory. But I want to know from your perspective, what's the thing that allows you guys to go from writing viral sketches into writing a show, which is a much different beast?
Yes. So sketch comedy was a passion since I was a teenager, and I did a lot of it in college. And then after college, I was part of multiple sketch groups. And so 3 to 4 minute videos was my specialty, and certainly something that Tony and Sean and I did a lot of together. At some point, my reps just said, there's a limit to how far you can go with this, or you certainly, you're paycheck wise, you should try to think bigger, longer. And of course, there's incredible sketch shows out there. They wanted me to get on a late night show, and I did try and came somewhat close.
To writing on a late night show?
Yeah, it was. I came somewhat close to writing on Conan, and and closer to getting on the Amy Schumer show, which I really wanted. That one I wanted so bad, and I didn't get it.
What's the audition process for that? Because this is an audition show.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Even for somebody, how did you, for the Amy Schumer show? Walk me through that. Did your team send sketches over to her, or
yes? It was a combo of things. At that point in my mid 20s, I was submitting a lot of sketch packets to sketch comedy series, late night shows like The Tonight Show, Kimmel, and stuff like that. And so I had written sketches that were things that just read well, where you could totally. The priority was how easy can someone visualize this just off the page. In addition to that, we had these other links to shorts that I'd done with Sean and people like yourself and Suzanne. And that was something that was included in our packet that we would send out. And I
And
think,
John Bernthal and Mark Pellegrino.
oh
Did you
my God, yeah,
That
Mark
one was
Pellegrino, John
brilliant
Bernthal.
too. That was
Yeah.
sorry. I just wanted people to
No,
know
but you're right.
You were starting to do sketches. Sketches is one thing, but then to be getting the talent that you were, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about you were working with great working actors too
Yes.
that were elevating even more.
Yes,
Okay,
you
so
should
you're-
include yourself in that list. But yes, we were working with a lot of incredible people who are still crushing it. And I owe them so much thanks. Someone like Mark Pellegrino, John Bernthal gave a sense of, I don't know, validity to our projects that we didn't have just with our 22-year-old college buddies. So I'll also say that part of what we were trying to do is, or was at the time, how we did a lot of movie parodies. So in order for a movie parody to feel believable, it has to start looking like that thing. We did a Batman parody in a nightclub that was owned by one of Sean's best friends, and we wanted it to look like it was The Dark Knight before we did the comedic twist. And so having people of the tremendous acting caliber of someone like Mark Pellegrino or John Bernthal helped sell the cinematic nature of what we were trying to do, and then made the jokes funnier because you got what you were watching. You were like, oh, I feel like I'm in a Spielberg Civil War movie or a Christopher Nolan Dark Knight movie. Therefore, the joke is funnier when they turn it that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And during this time too, okay, so let's get back to sending Amy Schumer this package. The
Yeah.
team that you're working with, are they repping you for writing and acting at this time?
That's correct. Most of the heavy lifting was being done by my manager, Todd Sellers at Brillstein, who I'm still with. And so Brillstein was pushing me because they have great connections in the comedy world, especially in late night. And so they were really pushing me for that. I was shooting SNL audition videos most years, never really expecting to hear back because it felt like such a dream, like crazy Hail Mary to do. But I just got used to trying in every single avenue I could. The two closest things in my 20s were Amy Schumer, and then they did a Mad TV reboot that I got somewhat close to and didn't end up on the cast, but I got to a producer call backstage. A lot of near misses, or however you want to call that, in my 20s. Like, we almost got there and didn't quite get it.
I call those the karma builds, right?
Yeah.
Not this one. Okay, something better, or something like you just are making space for that something better. Okay,
Yeah.
so Amy Schumer, you send a package, you're sending what you wrote, you're sending the videos.
Yeah.
Then are you going in for an audition process? And what does that look like?
So one reason it would have been such a dream job is that I knew at the time, and certainly have seen now, that they would incorporate a lot of their writers into the sketches as well. So to me, I think at that time, the Amy Schumer show, like I'd compare it to Key and Peele in terms of how fresh it felt and like how many eyeballs were on that. Today, I Think You Should Leave is another example of just a kind of a sketch show that felt new, fresh, cool, topical, and just had a point of view to it. And so to me, it was like at the time about as great of a dream job as I could get. I did an interview for one of their producers who said Amy enjoyed your package, and just hearing that was something that felt so validating to me. Because what I would do is I would take these sketches that I had written, but I would alter them, cater them to all star Amy, and like specifically play off her skill set. I would adjust a little bit to be like, what's going to sound a little bit more in her voice. And so it worked. They responded to that. Apparently she responded to that. And I didn't give the best interview. I think at the time I would have been 25, 26. I was very much in the mode of like, oh, I got to say what I think they want to hear.
Isn't that crazy in our 20s? It's such a people pleasing where you're like, even if you get an audition just for an acting job, you're like, okay, what do they want? What do they want?
Yeah.
That's whatever they want versus this is what I'm doing. This is how we're going to, it just, these are all building blocks, I think, for the audition. During this time when you guys, because you did shark proof. Like we've got so many places and spaces where you're still auditioning as
Yeah,
an actor. How's auditioning going during this time?
fairly
Just as an
poorly.
actor?
Fairly poorly. I had like I would go in person to auditions and just and we've all been through this, but I would say how I was going to do it in the car ride over. And
Mhm.
then whatever I would do, I'd enter the room and it would be a bad version of how I said in the car. And I would get so used to saying it one way. Then suddenly I feel like I'd have to be social with the casting director. Something I don't feel like is a strength of mine and has ever been a strength of mine is entering a room and then being chatty and smooth socially and just like owning the room. I'm a naturally awkward person. It just that never felt comfortable to me. So then I try to do this. I usually fail. I'm usually not charming or interesting or funny to the casting director. Now I got to do the thing that I prepared. Suddenly, because I'm probably thinking of the dumb comments I made to the casting director, I'm thrown off now and I'm probably thinking more like, oh, why did I shake one of their hands and I hugged the other? That was so stupid. And now suddenly my performance sucks as a result of my I don't know, just the scenario. And I think, again, it goes back to I was trying to project a version of myself that I thought they wanted and trying to please too much as opposed to just being comfortable with myself.
I feel like that's the 10-year mark is. Even the people that I talk to that have gone to conservatory, right?
Mm,
Training to be an actor. The audition is a completely different process. Here you are
yeah.
writing, doing sketches, you can act. It's just this audition process is
Yeah.
so archaic in a certain way in how we evaluate things, right? You're sterile, you're up against a wall,
Yeah.
nothing is working for you. You've got everybody judging you. Okay, go.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not it, there's not many classes that are just specifically for auditions. There are a handful, but not
Yeah.
that many that focus so much specifically on the art of auditioning. There are now with self-tapes. It's changed, but going in
Yeah.
the room days,
No, there weren't a lot. And I have a few thoughts on that. One the classes that I took that embraced that were commercial acting classes where they were so much more technical, where it's like you enter the room, you do exactly as you're told, you hit the spots, you say the line, you turn, you hit your marks and you look at the eye lines that they tell you to do. Commercial acting classes, I think, really focused on that. But I do believe that there is I think some teachers and programs turn their nose up at the idea of the process of an audition. It doesn't feel artful, therefore they don't really focus on it very much. But this is a profession, this is a job, and not everything is Shakespeare in the park.
yeah,
And
exactly.
sometimes you need to master the technical and very literal aspects of how do you enter a room, connect, and do your job. It is highly technical sometimes. And I think some programs I don't want to say they ignore that, but it's not always the priority.
I think now that we're in self-tapes, there's programs that are about the technical because now you are in charge of orchestrating what goes in the frame for an
Yeah, yeah,
audition. So we have to get way more technical. But yeah, going back in the room before, that technicality of meeting the person, even signing the contract, and then go audition. It's just not a process that I think works well for creativity. It works well for a work session. Let's
yeah,
work
yeah.
this out. But if you're trying to go in and nail it, it just doesn't.
I know.
I've done so much better, and I'm curious if you feel this way about your career, which I can see it. Since it's changed to self-tapes, do you feel like your auditions have gotten monumentally better?
I do, and I feel bad saying it because
Don't. I
look,
love it. I love self-taping. I really do.
I do too. I do too.
Don't be mad about saying it. Don't
The reason I feel guilty is there are advantages to that certain people have that others don't. It's like being able to have a space that looks good on camera and access to lights and needing to call up a friend to do the favor for you for being your off-camera voice. Not everyone, for various reasons, can do that as easily as others. I'm lucky enough that to be in a position where I met someone fantastic. His name's Brew Mueller. He had a place called Undercurrent Studios, which was based in Studio City. They're not there anymore, but he's a fantastic director and he did a great job with self-tapes and cared about the product he was putting out there with everyone who used his services. This man and his wife Ina, they're a team. They're so great. they, my partner Dana Brandon and I learned so much from them, as much as any acting school, because they were not afraid to talk about the technique of it. And hey, it's going to look better if we place person A here and person B here, and your eyes are crossing the camera to speak to one person then back to the other. That's going to look better than if you're just looking at your reader the whole time for the 3 minutes of these sides.
Exactly.
That's just one of a.
It helps you build the worlds. They help.
Yeah, builds the world.
Doing script analysis, but script analysis for framing.
Yeah.
It's a visual medium. And I don't think a lot of people didn't focus on teaching us those. I thought you would have more of an advantage or think about that more. I'm sure you do because you guys shot so much of your own stuff. Now, I know you were writing it, but even in the shooting of it, not that you were specifically holding the camera, but don't you think from doing from writing to conception to putting out a video, you were really learning, obviously, oh, this eye line works better here than there, right? You had hours of this kind of practice before we transitioned into self-tapes.
That is another thing I was lucky to have. I had the advantage of, well, I'll circle back to this, but basically when I was in my late 20s, my partner and I sold our first show. And for the first time, I was seeing other people's auditions. And
let's just go there now, because that's American Vandal.
Yes,
How
American
did you guys
Vandal.
sell this show? So to take us back, you've got these viral videos that are going out. You're auditioning. Your team's trying to put you on places. How do you and Tony, first of all, where does American Vandal even come from? I know your brains, but then what gets you in the door to selling your first show? Yeah,
so it's a lot of great right time, right place, very great happenstance sort of things. But it is. At this point, I've been making shorts with my various partners, mostly Tony, Sean, a group I was part of called the Chuckle Squad back then. I'd been doing shorts for probably 5 or 6 years nonstop, where that was my passion, that was my focus. But I wasn't climbing. My career wasn't growing, and my reps gave me the push to be like, you should really try to push for like longer form. Can you do something besides a short? My biggest regret in my career is I wrote one TV pilot that wasn't good. My friends told me it wasn't the best. And what I took away from that is like, oh, I don't write long form well. I can only write 3 minutes. And it was dumb of me to think that, as opposed to the lesson I should have learned, which was I can do it, but I need work. I need to get better at it. It doesn't mean that I can't do it. I need to improve off of this. And there's always room to grow. And there especially was then. I just didn't see much runway for me to improve. And so I wish I didn't doubt myself the way I did. So when we came up with American Vandal, I was still in the mindset of I can only do 3 to 4 minute videos. I can only do that type of thing. And so I pitched to Tony. I got our next short. I got a great idea. Everyone's talking about making a murderer serial. The Jinx, true crime is a huge thing right now. Let's do a short film, mockumentary short about a kid who got accused of stealing gum in 1999. And it's like a mockumentary about did they get the wrong kid or not? And it was Tony who switched the crime to one about penis graffiti, also switched it to a high school, and then said, let's try to make this a show. And there were some doubters who had very valid points about this feels like more of a short film concept. This feels like a 5-minute parody. But we were able to, if we were doing our jobs right, make you care more about those characters to make it work in a longer form. And man, I owe my career to that moment in time, because it's still my biggest calling card is that show, even though it was now almost 10 years ago. And I don't think if we were that age now with that idea now that it would have gone to series. We got a series order off of the pitch, and we put
tell me about this, because did you already know them ahead of time who you were pitching to? How the hell did you get a series order off of a pitch with basically new writers? Until you sell something, you're quote unquote a new writer.
We had never worked a day in TV. It's almost embarrassing that it happened that way. We didn't deserve it. If I'm being totally honest, it was a very unique period of time where we were in the middle of the streaming gold rush of everyone trying to buy up whatever they could, as much original series, taking as many chances as they could, throwing a bunch of things against the wall and seeing what stuck. And we were an extremely low budget show. Part of the reason that we were a viable option for Netflix to do the whole thing was that Tony and I came pretty cheap, and the concept couldn't have been cheaper. So it almost had the budget or the look of a high-end web series. And I think that if it had failed, it wouldn't have hurt Netflix too much because they had a lot at the time. They were developing Stranger Things and I think House of Cards and some way bigger stuff besides our little show. So it didn't hurt them to take the chance. And it certainly was mind-blowing because we put a lot of effort into the pitch. We made the pitch very interactive, where for anyone who doesn't know the show, it's about high school kids trying to break down a very sophomoric, ridiculous crime of this kid who drew penises on his teacher's cars. And so in the pitch, we are asking the executives to analyze the difference between this type of ball hair and that type of ball hair. And so it really got them out of their seats, or at least leaning forward, where they're like, what is this? So we performed the show in a way. And they loved the 15-minute pitch, but they're like, we can't give them a show off of that. So they asked us to come back in 2 weeks with a more fleshed out version. And those 2 weeks were like the biggest crunch time period of my creative life at that point, trying to make a full season-long story arcs and characters that would sustain this for more than 20 minutes. And thankfully, we had the great help of our partners, Matt and Kevin McManus, who are still collaborators of us to this day. We were able to do an hour-long pitch, and a week later, we got the email they were going series order on it.
It's crazy.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
From singing study classes to audition classes.
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a 2-line co-star.
That's why we created the Bridge for Actors.
A collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
To a working actor.
Wow.
Okay, now I want to know. Here you have been auditioning. It's not clicking or working. This, for everybody that's just listening, not watching American Vandal, it came out 2018, but you sold it, I think, 2016? Is that right?
Yeah, I think it was late 16. First season came out 17. Second season came out in 2018.
2018. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get to the casting process now.
Yeah.
You guys are in room, is what I was getting to, right? You're in room. People are coming in.
Yep. Yes, we are.
What didn't when you got to sit as people are coming in to read for you?
Major credit to Wendy O'Brien, Laura Outen, two fantastic people we still work with and are working with as we speak right now, who are excellent at discovering great new young talent. A lot of the actors on that show have tremendous careers right now. I don't know if they have American Vandal to thank specifically, but they definitely have Wendy and Laura to thank, because you look at Eduardo Franco, Lucas Gage, Jimmy Tatro. Some of them had done good stuff before, but they were very early into their careers. And I've just been amazed to watch where their careers have gone since then. What worked for us in the auditions was throwing things away. The subject matter was very silly. So the performance didn't have to be big. In fact, it shouldn't have been. A big performance would distract from what is already very silly subject matter. We found the more entertaining path was people treating the silly subject matter like it was extremely serious and important. And so less big, less broad, less cartoonish was always a plus for us. The more people could take a joke and say it with a dead straight face, sometimes honestly, like mumbling, throwing things away, paraphrasing. We were not precious with our scripts. That doesn't work for every project, but for this particular one, it lends itself well to improv and rephrasing things slightly in your own words. Overlapping dialogue, which is difficult to do in an audition, but like anything that did not feel like conventional TV, that felt more like just regular conversation, tended to work better for our mockumentary format.
Okay. So what surprised you most about the casting process, being on that side? Were there people that you liked and then it got conflicting with the studio? It's always nice to take a viewpoint that's not personal with acting. And I think once you're sitting on the creative side, and then you're trying to push certain people through. Yeah. What did you learn from the studio side, from the executive side? that maybe helped you as an actor moving forward past this point?
I learned that, again, we have a very specific tone. Being willing to hear someone go somewhere you weren't expecting with your words is valuable. That's more of a writing lesson than an acting lesson. But I will say, on the acting front, making choices, specific and sometimes big ones, and I don't mean big in terms of big broad, I don't mean physically big, bold, making some interesting choices, because you watch hundreds of these things.
Yeah.
So
to get inundated where every actor's doing that one beat the same way because it's written a certain way.
Yeah.
We're all playing that one beat. 80 actors are playing that one beat the same way. And you
Yeah.
get one actor that doesn't. Then it feels, to me, then it feels bold, but it's just different than
Yeah.
every other actor reading, which I think sometimes too, the writing is for the person reading it. Sometimes there needs to be more liberty for the actor,
I think there should be. Yeah.
the actor to take it on themselves. Still in story, still keep me in story,
Yes.
but when I'm reading certain actionable cues, it's for the reader. It's not always for the actor, right?
Yeah.
I think that's sometimes hard for actors to, it took me a while to learn that, where I was like, oh, the breakdown is for my agents and managers to submit me. What's written here in this actionable cue here, yes, there needs to be a transitional beat, but do I need to absolutely cry right here? Every actor is going to try
No.
to cry right here.
No.
What if I make a different choice? It might feel bold, and I might be more emotional. I know there's an emotional turn here, but what emotion? Here it says tears. Doesn't necessarily mean I need to do it, right?
It never means literal. I
For
don't
the
there
reader, right?
unless there's a very specific plot point where the
Exactly.
tear of the princess will awaken unless there's something so specific. But like, it's usually what feels honest to you. A forced emotion is never going to be as valuable and watchable and enticing as something honest. I'll also say this: I've said that we use a lot of improv on American Vandal and our next show Players, and to this day we like to use a lot of improv. But when a lot of people hear improv, they think jokes. They think, how can I make this sillier, funnier? Let's do a silly one. Let's do a goofy one. We have found that improv, for the sake of realism, for the sake of improving a dramatic, more emotional moment, is just as valuable, sometimes more valuable. So in American Vandal, there's an actress we love named Dendry Taylor, who we knew in the first episode of that show that we needed a moment that made you really care about whether the wrong kid got expelled for this dick graffiti, because otherwise people will watch it like it's a sketch. So we roll on Dendry for a while and have her talk about how much her son means to her. And she tells a story that it might have been about her own child in real life. I don't quote me on that. I'm not sure, but it felt so personal. And then she's talking about this day at the beach with him where he got in trouble, but so he's a bit of a troublemaker, but she's lighting up as she's saying it. None of it was scripted. And then at the end of that little monologue that we couldn't have possibly written, she goes, I just don't think he did it. I just don't. And in my heart of hearts, he didn't. And the nuances of that were so valuable to us, and something that is hard to capture in writing. That was maybe the best improv on the show, as opposed to how many more gags can we get here. Like,
Yes.
there's all sorts of improv, and it's not all silly.
It's not all jokes and stuff. Okay, I'm gonna catch the audience up. After American Vandal, then you start working around 2019, 2018, no, 2020. 2020 kind of, right? Right when we all shut down. Self-tape time. Self-tape time. With
Yeah,
Dave, was Dave a self-tape, or that's just because you guys know
That was
him?
right before COVID. That was more of Dave and Tony were doing me a solid with that. Tony directed a lot of Dave. Dave's a nice guy. I think I played the part well, but it wasn't like, holy shit, who is this guy? And also I worked in a Foot Locker for that. It wasn't impressing the Academy. But
But I always like to look at auditions and connections throughout these
yeah.
two. But because you guys were doing sketch, because you guys had also worked with Dave, you guys did the one video without me, and I was very upset when you guys did the rap video and Suzanne got to be in it and I didn't. She was like,
my
but you're
God.
pregnant. I was like, but that would have been the funniest thing. Have a big fat pregnant person in the middle of this thing. But because you guys worked with him before, connections also start bringing in jobs. That's exactly how you guys have worked, is from connections, I feel, and that it's blossomed out after getting some of these great American Vandal you got on your own. But I'm saying, as far as once you start working those connections, they spider out and
Yeah, on the acting front, I haven't done a good job of that in my life because I don't know, I don't go on too many coffee dates and networking stuff, and I should. On the writing, producing front, we like reusing the same people because we know it's just a known entity. If we have certain people like Ryan O'Flanagan, for example, it was in American Vandal season 1, is incredible. He's like an automatic joke machine, but also very believable as an actor in everything he plays. But we know if something is comedically light, he can instantly inject energy and comedy into it. So it's not really us doing it a favor to him because he's a friend, which he certainly is, and a great one. But we know he'll get the job done. So to me, that's where that. And then there's also people, of course, who are like, I want to work with my buddies. So that's that too. I guess I got to get those friends too.
No, but I feel like that's what I'm saying is that you do have, as you're writing and doing this track over here, you're meeting other people that are pulling you. Dave's come play over here. Okay, great. I'll get to play over here. When do you feel like, and then players, you get to put yourself in. Again, I think we can't just be actors anymore. And I think you are ahead of the curve on that, Dan. You definitely, you were. And so now when everybody's being forced at home and not getting as many auditions because there's just not as many projects right now, people are freaking out because they haven't developed the skill of creating their own work. So you being in that incubus for so long of not having the auditions at the beginning and having to create your own, you're really thriving at this place when there seems to be a contraction in development. You seem to be doing just fine because if they're not going to hire you, you'll just hire yourself. Great.
Yeah, I think it's something to always keep in mind. I also got the advice of, especially early on, writing to something that you know you can crush, writing sometimes to something not too far off from your own personality or POV, where in Players, that was very much the case of like, Tony has said this of me for a long time, and it's half compliment, half insult, but it's like you play low confidence so well. And so but
you do, it's so great.
I appreciate it. There's certainly times, in the same way that Larry David, when he talks about his own acting, he says it's a version of himself from maybe a couple decades ago, where he was probably a little bit more of a loose cannon. Similarly with me, I was the shyest kid at 15, 16 years old, and it's not hard for me to tap back into that.
And it works. Okay, so walk me into then that one audition. If you don't have it, I'm going to pull it. I'll pull from specific projects that, because you've popped up in places I'm like, Dan, oh my God, yay. So I want to know which one you pull first before I ask on the specifics.
The Residence audition was very difficult. I'm very proud of it.
And I want to hear it. That was the one I wanted to hear. Then because that pilot specifically, I know for a fact how long they cast on that pilot, how difficult it was. So will you walk me through start to finish, especially coming from a writer's perspective?
Yeah.
Auditioning for a pilot when you don't tonally have the thing, especially such a huge ensemble. Walk me through all of it.
So first of all, that's a massive ensemble for a show that everyone that was aware of it was saying this is one of the best pilot scripts that's come across our desks. And I work with Leslie Kahn sometimes, and she's awesome. And I told her about this, and she goes, that's the best comedy script that I've read in 5 years. And so it's one where you're like, you got to come correct. The pressure was on. It was a lot of dialogue because this was a part, I didn't do a callback for Residence. I did a lot of sides because that cast runs so deep. I don't know if they had the bandwidth to do callbacks for up to a certain point. So, but they made sure they had their bases covered because I did 4 or 5 scenes.
4 or 5 scenes per Colin or different roles?
For one role.
For Colin, okay.
Yeah, for Colin Trask, yeah. And we also got the note that this is a fast-paced show, that it's snappy, that it's quick. That's how the comedy plays best. And having to move fast, and I did this with the guy I mentioned earlier, Brew Mueller of Undercurrent Studios. And he was like, all right, this person's going to be here, this person's going to be here, this person's going to be here, because there were so many scenes where there'd be 8, 9, 10, 11 people in the room. And so to be able to look this way, this person's asked you this, then reference this person, like that helped the franticness of it. And so we were just trying to find ways to make this lively on its feet. If you see the finished product of the show, there's a lot of swinging cameras and really complex, again, camera movements, walk and talks. It's got a real frenetic energy to it. So how do you do that when you have a locked off shot that is the audition? And we were just finding ways to get energy, movement, a lot of different eye lines, and being as snappy as possible. Then after the snappiness, having a beat of silence, then going back to the snappy. So that one was all about rhythm.
Yep. And a punctuated rhythm and a punctuated moment.
Yeah. And then also I didn't know at the time, but they don't like riffing with Shondaland, and for good reasons. Like it tends to not fit the tone of what they're, especially for something like Residence, where it's so specific and everything is so tightly blocked in such a great way. It doesn't lend itself to improv, really. I did not know this at the time that I did my auditions, so I did add tags, which is something that I like to do. And because I play a lot of awkward characters, the only thing that I really under-rehearse on purpose is anytime the character is supposed to be awkward. So I read this scene, it didn't quite turn out to be this way in actuality, but I read this scene where it's like, oh, it seems like he has a crush on this person that he's delivering a coffee to. So that was the only one we didn't rehearse at all, because I wanted to like stumble. And so when I brought the coffee, I'm like, oh, this is great for you. Have a good coffee. Here you go. And the more stumbly that was, the better I felt. And I also went off script for that. A side note to all of this, I don't know if the off script stuff helped me with the Residents, but I do also like doing tags.
I do. Yeah. So are you normally just doing a button at the end of the scene, specifically when it's rhythmic? Because I don't want any actor all of a sudden being like, I'm gonna go off script here in the middle. It changes the pacing. Are you more for the button? You're waiting for the button?
Usually button. And sometimes I might change a word or two in the middle.
You're not rewriting the scenes. Like Mark Pellegrini. Mark came into the show. He's done it a million times, which is great. But he sometimes rewrites his whole entire sides. He did it early on in his career all the time. Certain people can get away with it. I think you need to know which offices can let you do that and which don't. Or some people just don't give a fuck. Mark doesn't give a fuck. And sometimes it worked for him and sometimes it didn't. He did tell 2 stories where they were like, no, don't do that.
To me, it's a pros and cons situation. You got to weigh them. So the way I've always looked at it is that you can do a tag if you feel good about it. I think there is let's call it 70% chance that they're going to like that. There is a chance that just lost the job for you, but I think there is a higher chance that it makes you stand out. So it's just weighing those things. If they say stick to the script, then I do that. If it's a drama, I'm going to do less ad-libbing there. Although I will say I auditioned for a real heavy hitter director project, only like a 2 or 3 line role, but like a Scorsese Spielberg kind of thing, the kind of thing where I'm like, wow, just auditioning for this is a trip. And I added a pretty ridiculous tag. And then I got pinned for it. Didn't get the part. But
and which casting office was that? If you remember.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look that one up actually, if you don't mind.
Because I think it's really helpful to know how certain people respond. Because Jeff Greenberg, don't ever do a tag, don't ever do don't do anything. He will kick you out of the office and never see you again. Like there's certain offices that really are known to not like that. And then there's other offices that I think that they really like that freedom, especially with us at home and doing our self-tapes now.
Do you know Cindy Tolan?
Yeah. That's who it was.
Yes. Yeah.
Cindy Tolan. But again, you are a writer, so you can have your tags, your buttons, your riffs always stay in story. I think some actors have to get better at understanding the story so they know how to riff. Or they're in an improv class. Again, the improv class, it's still around story, the story that you're setting up to work inside of. Sometimes some actors, I feel like, throw things out that don't. There's smart buttons. There's smart improv to put in there. And then there's the
other thing about buttons is that if you don't like it, we had this full scene where they didn't do anything at all, where they stuck to script. And if you want to just ignore that, you can't. The only thing that the button, I saw an audition one time where this guy did just, here's the line. The line was like, bro, you're not listening to me. I'm right here. Can we talk? That was the line. And then he went, I guess it wasn't ad-libbing, but he went, bro, and it was like, that's a lot right there.
Doing a lot. Doing a lot to get the attention. A lot. We just take a hat off. It's like Chanel. It's like take off one article of clothing or one accessory before you leave the house. You don't need all that. You don't need
Yeah. I also think that, and this is something that I learned on the acting side, having seen so many tapes, is sometimes you let the words lead and you don't add too much. And it sounds boring, but there's parts I've given a good audition to just because I just said it. Sometimes I put less work into it, and it's not something that would make my teachers proud. But
Well, you're not getting in your own way. You're
yeah.
just not getting in your own way at that point. Okay, Crime 101. I need to know. I love this. I loved this movie. I cannot believe more people did not see this movie.
The movie's awesome. My part isn't, but the movie's awesome.
I screamed when I saw you. But I know a few other people in the movie, so I was really excited. I want to know your audition. I want to know. I just want to know.
Yeah.
Even for parts like this and how it came together. Did you know anybody? What a force.
No, I think Brillstein got me that audition, and it was, I auditioned for a character I really wish I played, and it just didn't work out, and that's okay. But it was like a tech hacker. I go out for a good amount of hacker dudes. And so I would have been, I forget exactly how it plays out in the movie, but I'm some kind of hacker who gets beat up by Barry Keoghan. The scene's awesome. And so they liked me. And then it didn't go that way for me, but they're like, we want to find a place for him. And so.
Okay, so let me stop you before that. Did you do this as a self-tape? And if there's it's you getting beat up, I want to know, what did you do inside the tape? Because a lot of actors don't know how to handle action.
Yeah. I think that, look, obviously choreographing a fight scene would have been too much, but I think I was pushed against the wall and like maybe beat up. So it was something like jolting back and then maybe a scream or like turning my head away. And I think that gives you the reaction. To me, since you can't replicate that and shouldn't, it's not really safe to do that. Just being able to react as if you did not see that coming is the more valuable thing than can they like fake a punch.
Fake it. Okay, so they see your tape.
So they wanted me to do something. And so I actually telling the story because it's so funny how the part I know it's a bad thing to say you're supposed to say there's no small part, just small actors. This was the smallest part of all time. It was a character named Arthur. I did have a name. So if you look at my IMDb, I'm just Arthur. If you didn't see the movie, I could be number 3 on the call sheet. So I'm grateful they called me Arthur. Basically, there's a scene where Mark Ruffalo, and it's in the trailer, Ruffalo is trying to convince his fellow cops that there is a pattern to these heist guys, that they're hitting all these shops and places along the 101 highway. And so I'm the projectionist in the room. I am projecting his map onto the wall. And so Ruffalo says something like, all right, now if you take a look at the next slide, can you switch to the next slide? What's your name? Arthur? Yeah, Arthur. And so all I say is my name. He goes, what's your name? And I go, Arthur. Arthur, next slide, please. And that's the whole part.
I know. But that cast is so insane. And to have you pop it, I was like, does he know somebody on the show? Does he know any of the producers? Because it's so stacked. It doesn't feel like they even did a lot of auditions for that film.
Yeah,
You've got Halle Berry, Mark Ruffalo, Chris, you've got all these people. And I think that's how do we even say this as actors? You know what? Since you actually watch so many tapes, there's certain tapes that you lean in for, right? Where you're no, I like him. I want him in this movie. I don't care, right? And there's no way to really articulate to actors how to do that other than do your work, know the story, and invite us into the story so that they want more, right? So do you have any other way of articulating that other than you just have been working for a long time, you throw down a tape, they invite you to set?
I can say from the other side of it, like, there's been plenty of times where I've seen tapes where I'm like, we like this person. Sometimes Wendy O'Brien will have a category of tapes where we're like, we don't know where to fit these people, but these are really interesting people. And so obviously during the writing process, things change. Things change on set. There are story changes, there are character changes. And it's good to keep in mind about people who you generally like, because you never know how someone might slot in. I remember with the show Players, another mockumentary, we changed a character pretty significantly midway through production, something that we knew was coming up. This character shot for probably 3 days, and we changed the nature and age and I think gender of the character pretty last minute. And so at that point, it does help to have kind of a Rolodex of other people you really trust who you know you can get the job done.
And you can slide them right in. Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you learn from watching Ruffalo? Did you get to watch him for a day? Did you get a couple days on that?
I got 1 day. It was a lovely morning. Everyone was sick. This was in the middle of December, cold season. Ruffalo was sick. I was sick. I will tell you one, I'll admit this, but I should barely be doing this. Do you know how NyQuil and DayQuil, forever they were different colors? Okay,
Yep.
so
Yes.
the NyQuil's blue, the DayQuil is orange or red or something. For some reason, NyQuil is now orange, either the same as DayQuil or pretty damn close. So I had a bit of a cold, but it's like, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't COVID. And so I'm like, I got to go to set. And I took what I thought was a DayQuil. It was like a honey flavored NyQuil. So it was a honey flavored bottle NyQuil. It's like, everyone's going to think that's DayQuil. And so I was kind of drowsy while I was there. And
I slept through that whole day, and Ruffalo was great.
I
What
mean,
a great
I
mom.
might have dreamed,
Arthur,
I
wake
might have
up.
dreamt it. He was a delight. We talked a little bit. He engaged with the rest of the room of both actors and crew background alike, and I like that. I think that I'm a big believer that you get the best work out of, not only is it obviously best to be kind in life, just full stop in general, you get the best work out of people when they want to work well for you and with you.
100%. I
Yeah.
also just think when ego's involved for creativity, everything gets stifled. And when you can creatively collaborate with somebody, and you just want to work with your friends at the end of the day, truly. And when everybody gels together, like the project I just came off of, we did 5 weeks. At the end of that, you're like, can we do a series now? Because everybody knows how you're working, and you know how when that just it doesn't always happen that way. So when it does click, you grab certain people from certain projects and put them in your back pocket for any time. All right. Is Jury Duty Presents? It's not Jury Duty.
Company Retreat is what they called the second season. Yeah. That season was awesome.
I want to know this audition.
The audition was wild and one of my favorite ever. It was, for those who don't know, Jury Duty is a semi-scripted. It's in some ways heavily scripted, but the dialogue and the situations, how they unfold, go into unscripted territory. There's only one person of the show who is not an actor, does not know that this is a comedy series that they're in. And so, as you can imagine, improv is a crucial part of the process. So my initial tape for that, self-tape, you're given 5 different prompts and you can choose 1 or 2 of them. And you just riff. One of them was try to convince your roommate that it's okay that there's black mold in the house and that we don't need to take care of it right now or something like that. And I just had a blast with that. Like when I saw Jury Duty was casting, I'm like, I will do whatever it takes to find my way on this show. It was another thing like what we were just talking about where I came pretty close to a lead, did not get it. And then they kept me around until they found a spot for me, which was delivered a seminar to the main cast. And that was one of the best days on set I've ever had. It was, I can't say more good things about the Jury Duty cast, crew, producers, writers, all excellent people with great hearts who are down to do one of the craziest things that you could do on film and one of the most dangerous things, which is do a show in the style of the Truman Show where one person doesn't know it and it could all fall apart in a moment's notice.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. What a fun time.
Yeah.
What a fun time. Okay. What are you guys writing right now? Let me ask you a business-minded question. So you're constantly trying to, do you have the desire to work in front of camera as strongly as you do behind camera from the beginning? You still have that really strong desire.
I do. Yeah.
So is that still motivating what you are currently writing?
Yeah, my biggest joy comes from writing something I really care and believe in, that I see myself in, usually a supporting role. I think I'll get there to the let's write something where I'm leading it, but as we speak right now, I can't speak to the role, but I'm writing another mockumentary right now. I can't talk too much about it, but I will be playing something in it. And then I'm doing an indie comedy series that's entirely self-financed, not by me, but by producers we're lucky enough to work with. And I'll be playing a supporting role in that too. So I think they help each other out, like, especially because I like working with improv so much. It helps to know all the details of the show so that as I'm acting, I can speak about any subject.
And then how are you managing your day to day? So I get asked that question a lot. I know every day is different for me. And whenever I have a plan, it's all diverted because then I'll book something or I'll get 3 or 4 auditions. So literally from your business side, from the Dan Perrault office, how are you managing writing, development, what's going into production, then getting an audition, and how are you working? Like when you guys are writing, are you booking out or are you just, okay, I'm writing this day, but now I'm going to go shoot Crime 101 for a day?
Yeah, I've taped once. I put myself on tape once during the writer's room process. It's not something I certainly can't go in person to any auditions. And this is every weekday, 10 to 6. And after the writer's room is done, we look at auditions. We have VFX meetings. We have production designer meetings, other major department head hires. That takes usually an additional 90 minutes after the day is done. So if I were to step away to shoot anything, it would have to be tremendously important and short-lived, and ideally on a weekend or something. There's really not a whole lot I can do while we're in the writer's room, but I am cool with it because I know when we're hopefully shooting in the fall that I'll be doing what I love to do, which is on-set writing as well as stepping in front of the camera sometimes.
It's so good. I love it so much. So then let me just wrap up here because I know you have to go back to the writer room. What do you wish you would have known earlier on as an actor that you know now after being a creator of a show running shows?
I wish I knew that failing but being okay with it is a very powerful trait, and I mean that in small moments and big moments, that if you drop a line and you laugh about it, that's okay. If you write a bad pilot script, that can actually be a good thing, and you're not a failure. You just have room to grow, and now you know that your next one's going to be better because you've acknowledged what didn't work the first time. That failure is a tool, not a impeding force in your life that's telling you to stop doing what you're doing.
I love that. And then final, as somebody who says that they're not good at networking, but I disagree. Now you getting to be in the creator's shoes and somebody who's writing stuff, your friends that are actors, people around you that are actors, how do you respond best to them showing interest in wanting to work with you or work on your project? Because I think there's tacky ways that people do it, and then there's very connecting ways that people do it. Have you seen that? I'm sure you've seen that now as an actor and as somebody who's creating shows. You've got people coming out of the woodwork trying to get on your shows. So what have you seen for best practices for actors that are trying to get into having a relationship with writers? Do you know what I'm saying? I
think complimenting someone but not feeling like it has an ulterior motive, which is a tricky thing to do. I think I'm saying this is how I would want to and have gone out to people before. Saying to someone you respect, hey, I like what you do, would love to collaborate. I understand there's a lot that goes into that, and then you have a lot of factors to consider, but I love what you do and would love to find a way to work together. That's never going to be offensive to someone. So to me, that's a always winning formula. If that person is offended by you saying that, then they're probably not worth working with in the first place. The only thing I'd avoid is like actively trying to make someone uncomfortable or like guilting them into working with you.
Yep, that does. No, but I think I've said that a million times as well. The compliment really goes a long way for starting to create a relationship with somebody you might work with 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I just worked with somebody that I wanted to work with, but we started talking about it 6 years ago, and we just did it right now. So I love that. I do love what you guys are doing. It's been so fun to watch from afar, and I do scream every single time I get to see your face in front of camera.
Same. Hey, when you come up on any device and you're killing it on all of them, it's awesome to see you.
It's so good to see you. Will you tell everybody I said hi? Where can everybody follow along? And then we'll, watch all the shows. I'll plug all that, but where can
I love
everybody
it.
follow on specifically with you?
Let's see, Dan J. Perrault on Instagram. That's probably where I post most often. And the next thing I got coming out is probably the project on Netflix. I'm in a boxing drama that I really love shooting called Fight for 84. We do not have an established release date yet, but it's a true story about a boxing team that tragically passed away in 1983, like leading up to the 84 Olympics, and the incredible effort of a small group of people who rebuilt the U.S. boxing team, and the story of those boxers and the coach that did that job. And it's a great story, like really respectfully told. And it's also got some unbelievable action scenes in it, the kind of stuff that I didn't think I'd ever be a part of.
Who are you working opposite with? Did you get to work with Jamie?
Jamie Foxx quite a bit. I play his kind of dorky little sidekick, and I loved it.
I was hoping that. He's the best. He is the best.
He's awesome.
The best to
He's
have
awesome.
him on set.
Yeah.
He's always entertaining.
Yes, very much. And good to my family too. He was very nice to my father and my brother who visited set. So like he brings positive vibes, and I really appreciate that. That goes a long way.
It really does.
Yeah.
Man, thanks for doing this in between.
Thank you.
I so appreciate it. It was so fun. I
Appreciate
really
you having me on, and I would do this anytime and hope to see you soon.